2001 Volvo V70. If IKEA could fit its business model into an automobile, well, this is it. The 2001 Volvo V70 was introduced in the year 2000 as the wagon variant of the somewhat new 70 series of vehicles introduced by Volvo in 1998, a continuation of the 850 series vehicles from 1993. For 2001, Volvo released a new platform designated P2, which carried the brand's models across the board all the way to 2015, ending with the first generation XC90. The first V70 was introduced in 1998 under the popular success of the 850 wagon. The styling of the first-gen V70 was very subtle to the 850 wagon, maintaining the popular brick shape as most Volvo enthusiasts refer to. By 2001, though, the brick shape was no more, and the styling was described by Peter Horbury as the front end of a Jaguar E-Type married to the back end of a Ford Transit van. Mr. Horbury, as an American citizen, I'd like to say if the front of this car resembles that to a Jag E-Type, which is an extremely pretty car, then you have really questionable taste, sir. But styling isn't the reason you buy a car like this at all. In fact, the styling of this car is about as wagony as you could get, because if any car company knows station wagons better than anybody else, it's definitely Volvo. You want to know why people buy these Swedish cars? Longevity and safety. See, unlike a lot of European cars, Volvos are initially built to last until the end of time. It was that kind of reliability that got the company to succeed from the get-go, only to be ruined by the likes of those blue oval bastards proudly stamping FOMOCO on their products. Aside from the AX55-50SN slush box that plagues these cars, and even more so with the 2001 model year, those mid 2-liter 5-cylinder Viking ships of an engine trumpet on for miles and miles with little issues. Seriously, if you've never listened to the elegant orchestra that a Volvo 5-cylinder makes, you, my friend, are about as cool as the baby polar bear on a Coca-Cola commercial, because, of course, the adult polar bear gets to enjoy real Coke, while the baby just gets a bottle of carbonated shit juice. Anywho, step inside the V70 and almost immediately you realize how comfortable the ergonomically designed seats are. They're like soft pillows that grace your pencil-thin meat carcass, and you wonder why you've ever sat in anything else. Volvo's seat game is on point, and for some reason they seem to be the only car company that remotely cares about comfort. German cars, take your cue. The rest of the interior is simplistically designed, everything from the radio knobs to the climate control to the faux wood grain trim. Why, guys? Why do you do that? It's everything you could want in a luxury car, which is exactly what this is.
But Volvos aren't a luxury car. Only the German cars are luxury cars.
For the record, do most of you even know what luxury even is? By definition, luxury is the state of great comfort and extravagant living. Are Volvos comfortable? You bet your ass they are. Do they offer a state of extravagant living? It's possible. Just ask moms who drop their kids off at St. James School for the exceptionally privileged, because I guarantee you, if you take the time to see half the cars that drop their kids off at private schools, half of those women drive Volvos. The perception of Volvos being a luxury car is ultimately dismayed by the appearance of these Swedish cars. They don't have flashy kidney-shaped grills or overly complex laser headlights with enough lumens to fry the inner workings of your retinas. For the most part, these cars have relatively conservative styling. The body lines are where they need to be. All of the angular proportions come together seamlessly into one uniform structure that oddly resembles a tank. And that's another reason why people buy Volvos, because of that exceptional Swedish steel. If you ever find yourself getting in an accident with a Volvo, your chances of survival are about as equivalent to surviving an episode of Mr. Pickles. If you are the driver of said Volvo, though, congratulations! All you need is a nice dab of Neosporin and a nice cold beer to ponder all of the great life choices you've made. And that brings us to the part of review where this car in particular comes to be. On a moderately warm November day in 2015, I searched on the unlimited playground of wish lists commonly known as the lists of Craig for another fine example of Swedish engineering. At the time, I owned a 1999 Toyota Corolla LE, which, as many of you or may not know, is an extremely boring car to drive. It's a car that serves as a reminder that reliability and longevity is only at the expense of the ownership of it. That car was religiously maintained to the point where only about $200 in parts and service was needed to make it a perfect car. As with many things in life, we always want what we can't have, but in this case I didn't necessarily want a perfect car. I wanted a platform to build onto, an open muse to form a grand vision that is held by many people known as annulment. Annulment is the bittersweetness of having arrived in the future, seeing how things turn out, but not being able to tell your past self. After previously owning a 1999 Volvo S70 Olga, I long lusted for another example of Swedish ingenuity. So after browsing on Craigslist, I finally came across my muse. This 2001 Volvo V70, a car that is inherently doomed from the start, fit that niche that I had been itching for. I quickly sold my Japanese slush box and proceeded to fulfill my desires of Ovloff ownership once more. Upon buying the car though, I knew that it would need a lot of work down the road, but I didn't care. I drove the hell out of this thing, all the time, anytime I could. It was this car that I went from living with 2 sets of roommates to moving into the backwoods bumpkin place known as Oglethorpe County in Georgia, and then back to the city that tries so hard to be the New York City of the South. It was this car that I learned if some things are too good to be true, whether it's friendships or aspiring relationships or one-night stands, then sadly, it probably is true. But not everything in life is like that, and if there's one thing this car brought me, it was joy. Even through the struggles that plagued my life owning this thing, this car gave me so much happiness on its own. It got me through 24,000 miles of exploration, excursions, and experiences I will honestly never forget. Because life, to me, is really the sum of all the little things that make the bigger picture so much more able to grasp. In a world and society of today's age, where hate and ignorance and oppression is so preached about and against, it's these little things that make everything bearable. And so, as I write this review, and see my large, deep blue wagon sitting in the driveway awaiting its next incarnation, I salute you, Stella. You've championed through the ends and the beginnings of the rest of my life, and for that, I am eternally grateful. So long, old girl, may the car gods accept your presence and your exceptional Swedish bang for now and forever.